Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
Hello, this is Carl Seidel. I'm co-host of The People's View, and this show is being taped here at the State Library opposite the Capitol. And as you know, The People's View is sponsored by the Nashua Republican City Committee, and if you want to know more about the organization, please look at the website at nashuagop.org. We meet the second Thursday of every month in the Crown Plaza. Please contact us if you want to know more about it and you want to make some suggestions about The People's View should have as future guests. And today we're welcoming the Minority Leader, Representative Gene Chandler, who's been here for quite a while. And so Gene will tell us a little bit about the background of what's happening in this session, the legislative session, and how everything's going with the budget that's been proposed. Gene, how are you today?
Pretty good, Carl.
Okay.
Good to see you again. We miss you. We miss you. So, yeah.
Well, maybe another time.
Well, I guess we are going to have a special election,
yes,
hopefully, in
Nashua,
so maybe we can get you to move into that ward.
I just bought a house in Ward 1, so I'm going to remember that. But we're trying to convince Representative Silver to come back in.
Well, I hope they call for one. I assume they will.
They will, but what we're hearing is that they're not going to do it until November.
Oh, okay.
Because by the time they get around to the mechanics of putting up another election will be June. Right. And they didn't see the need to do it. And so they'll just put it into the November election and charge another $2,000 or $3,000.
Okay, well.
We just went through one and they only had like 380 people vote. So, but that ward is a ward where you get a lot more people to vote.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to helping somebody anyway. And yeah, we're having a good time up here. Obviously, we're in the minority this year, as you know, and others know, I'm sure. But we're working, and I think we're trying to make our positions known, which we think are strong Republican positions, and we think, generally speaking, supported by the majority of people in the state, whether they be Republican, Democrat, or Independents, because obviously we're for less government and no taxes and all the things that we traditionally stand for. And I think because we're in the budget, the governor's just introduced a budget, so there are a couple of issues that we feel very strongly about. One thing even when I ran for this position and talked about even before I knew I was going to be in it, and have stressed, is saying that we're going to be very diligent on holding the Democrats' feet to the fire with revenue estimates. You know, because you were up here, that's what got us in trouble 4 and 6 years ago, was overly inflated revenue estimates, led to a huge budget deficit that we had to deal with the last 2 years, which we did. But nonetheless, and we've started kind of down that, the governor has started that again with what we think are overinflated revenues. As you know, and some people may not, that Representative Major is our leading guru on revenue estimates, and he's been spot on. Someone was just saying the other day, and Representative Hass, Sam Abrami, all the Saparetto, all the folks that are on the Ways and Means Committee, there's over 100 years of revenue experience on that committee of Republicans. And last year, their revenue estimates, the Republican revenue estimates, were the 1/10 of 1% of the actual thing, which is pretty amazing. So anyone that doesn't think that when we come up with a revenue estimate that it's not pretty good, better look at the past history. So having said that, that's one thing that we will just keep hammering home and letting the public know that as of the moment, we think the governor and the Ways and Means estimates, the whole committee's estimates, are too high, and they're just not sustainable. And nothing will get you in trouble any quicker than overinflating revenues, because that's just money you don't get, and you've spent the money in the budget, and now you don't have the revenue to pay for it. And people in the households couldn't do that, and the state shouldn't either. So we're going to be very vigilant on that. The other big issue is the $80 million that the governor put in the budget for gambling, for the license fee for the casino. And no matter how you feel about casino gambling, the $80 million is wrong to be in the budget, because there's virtually no chance during this biennium, no matter what happens with the gambling proposal, there's virtually no chance that that would happen. No other state, to the best of my knowledge, has been able to get a licensing fee within 2 years. So that's just setting, it's like we said, it's gambling to fail is what it is, because the money won't be there.
I mean, there's no contingency in that at all.
No.
That you cut something if that doesn't pass even.
Right.
So
And we will have an alternative budget which won't have that in there, that we will be able to propose and say, look, this is the budget we need to pass. If you get 80 million, we can use it or do something for sure.
Well,
but
there are another number of income things that they've had. They have the gas tax, they have this registration fee, and I don't know how that's going to go through. I mean, that's another one. It's not as big as the $80 million, but it's still a sizable portion of the budget.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
And that's not gone through the legislature either to be passed.
No, and so as we've said, I said it's the first time I've ever had something. People are saying, well, sometimes there are revenues in the budget for things that may be planned or something. I said, yeah, but I don't know of any time we ever put something in the budget that's illegal right now. I mean, this isn't legal to do this, and yet it's in the budget. So that's what we've been hammering. And we have people, strong supporters of gambling. Even Senator Morse, who's obviously, he and I are good friends. We disagree on the gambling issue personally. But he's opposed to the $80 million in the budget for it, because he thinks it's unrealistic. And he knows he's the Senate Finance Chairman. He can't count on that money in the budget he builds in the Senate. So that's a real issue that needs to be dealt with, because we're just going down the wrong path there.
Well, Charlie Ellinghouse, as you know from the Center of Politics, has come out with an article in the Union Leader showing that there's a large difference in what they're proposing to do and what income is realistic. I think his numbers, if I recall them correctly, there's a $20 million increase in income and a $500 million increase in spending. And that's no way to get balanced at all.
That's a little on the wrong side, I think.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to sell off this time.
I don't know.
I remember that one budget where they were going to sell, what, $80 million worth of property?
Yeah.
They never did anything.
No, not one nickel came in.
No,
nothing.
I just wonder what other.
That was not very well researched. The biggest, and that's a concept of which I'm not completely opposed. We should take a look. There are some things the state owns which we could sell. Unfortunately, in coming up with the proposals, they neglected to look into the restrictions on the properties. The state gets things it's from the federal government. You have to pay that, like in highways and things. You have to pay the highway fund, the federal highway fund back. Families put restrictions on lots of things. So they hadn't looked at all those. So the list shrank exponentially.
Pretty quickly, too, once they started
down to
doing
nothing.
that.
So.
Well, what about the other laws that are coming in, the proposed legislation? What's going to be the most controversial outside of gambling?
Well, obviously we had a pretty controversial issue yesterday on the education tax credits for scholarship programs, which was a Republican initiative last year. The House voted yesterday to repeal that, which I think is unfortunate. Once again, even if you might not agree with the proposal, it just passed. It just started in January. It hasn't even had 6 weeks yet to work. So it seems unfortunate. Now we're confident the Senate will uphold that, and so it will stay in effect, because it's good. The low and moderate income families of this state, I think, deserve to have an opportunity to have their children get the same type of education as more wealthy families.
I thought that was a very good idea when we passed it.
It doesn't use any tax money. The business tax credit, people argue it's unconstitutional. Maybe it'll be found, who knows, but at least let the court decide that, not the legislature. And so hopefully it will withstand the court cases too, and some of these lower
similar laws
families.
In other states have passed
Supreme
Court qualifications.
Right.
But I agree with you. It seems like one of the things that is a problem, even in the Nashua schools, is that you try to have one thing for everybody, and you can't.
Right.
Children are different,
Yep.
they have different conditions, and I've seen 2 successful charter schools in Nashua that are excellent, but they really focus on 2 different parts of the child's type of children that
Right.
are being
Sure.
taught. Some of them are very eager and they move along, and the one, the Academy of Science and Design, I think it is, allows them to move at a grade level that they can handle. So you might even get certain mixtures, in
Right.
math and science, they're advanced in something else, they might be, in the regular grade level. But and to do it for the children there, Nashua, Manchester, Concord have large populations
Right.
of people that couldn't afford some
Right.
of it themselves.
And this would help in those cases, and I think it's very important. It seems kind of ironic to me that Republicans are always accused of just
Right.
being the party of the wealthy, and here we're trying to give an opportunity for low and moderate children, income families, to get a chance at
Right.
bettering themselves and having a better education, and the Democrat Party is opposed to it. It's a good switch, but it just seems kind of
It
ironic.
seems a little bit different,
right.
yeah.
So,
and it's not where you're depriving the school department of all the money. In fact, it's less than 50% of what they get per child
Right.
that goes to the tuition. So they're coming out ahead.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at it, then the average actually goes up for
Yeah,
them.
no, it's a good deal for the state, actually, because it's less money to the community.
Right.
And they don't have to pay any of that scholarship. That's all coming from the business. So it works.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I'd like to see
it'll
it,
at least
yeah.
get a chance to work. And that was all I talked about yesterday on the floor, was saying, give it a chance to fail even.
Yeah.
I don't care if it
Yeah,
fails.
yeah.
If it goes a couple of years and it isn't working, okay, but let's see how it goes.
You know, that gets to one other problem that I saw when I was serving the last 2 terms. There isn't an evaluation of programs that are in existence.
All right.
You don't go like HHSs have how many thousand contracts with a number of different companies to do some service. Do they really evaluate the value? Are these programs meeting their objective? Are they doing it reasonably effectively, And I don't see that done. So we spend money, and we keep on spending money on things that we're not really sure are doing the job.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I think, for the most part, I think those things go okay, but unfortunately, then you get into some of these, I don't know whether you call them knee-jerk reactions or political things, where a program doesn't get a chance to even be evaluated because someone wants to just do away with it before it has a chance to. And that's unfortunate.
Well, that's what you're seeing right now.
Yeah,
how many
Right.
pieces of legislation that was passed in the last term are trying to be overturned?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it's ironic because obviously 2 years ago, we were being accused of overturning stuff that the
Right.
Democrats had passed, and now they're doing the same thing. So, and that's the natural evolution, I think. But I think, and I basically don't have a big deal to say, okay, a law has been in effect 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, something you had a chance to see.
Yeah.
If you can file a bill to repeal it and bring up some arguments why you should, but it's kind of hard for me to find an argument on a bill why you should be against it that's only been in effect for 6 weeks. It's not too much of a track record there, so.
No, it's unfortunate. What other legislation do you think has?
Well, I didn't bring a list with me. I should have done more homework, Carl,
Oh.
but I don't know. Obviously there are a number of, we were successful yesterday in overturning, I say yesterday, I'm sorry, this is tape, but anyway, on Wednesday the 19th, I guess it was, we overturned a committee report, which I was surprised even the committee came out with a recommendation to kill the bill. It was a bill which gave immunity to folks if someone broke into your house and stole a gun and then committed a crime. It relieved the homeowner of any liability. And the committee report was to kill that bill. And so we fought that, and we were successful to overturn it.
Oh, very good.
I was shocked, to be perfectly honest, the committee even voted that way to begin with. It seems a little bizarre. I likened it to someone steals your car and goes out and runs over someone. I don't think you're going to sue the owner of the car for that.
Yeah.
And so the gun issue, and there actually was a case. So there was some precedent for trying to change it, because there was a case where that happened and the victims of the family sued the homeowner. You know, and that someone had broken into his camp, and he didn't even know about it. And so we were fortunate to do it. We had some Democrat support for that. Obviously, we needed to overturn it.
So you must have had quite a few.
Yeah, so that was a good success story. And so we have a few here and there. And
well, I think your logic is really, being listened to on some of these things. It's that for one seems to be no-brainer.
You'd think so, but then in a lot of what we're doing, I'll speak from the Republican minority position. Certainly, a lot of what we're doing, because we still have the majority in the Senate, albeit a slim one, is trying to just bolster some of the positions so the Senate realizes they've got some people behind the support and doing that. That's why we were very happy with the vote, even though the education tax credit was repealed in the House, but we had 151 people voting to keep it. So that gives some support when it gets to the Senate to keep the 12 votes we need over there to make sure it doesn't happen. So a lot of what we're doing is making sure we're taking positions and trying to get good votes on issues so the Senate can do the right thing when the things get to them. So
well, it's going to be interesting. Helpful. We'll be interviewing the Senate President next month.
Oh, excellent!
And we'll find out, hopefully, where they stand, if they have where they'll have any of the votes by that time.
We work. I work very well with Peter, and I just had a meeting with Senator Morse this morning, who's chairman of Senate Finance, and we work well together. I said we have different philosophical opinions on the gambling issue, but we just don't talk about that, and we talk about the things we can agree something on. And
talk about some of the practical pros and cons of that.
And we both agree, as I said, about the 80 million pound the budget. But so I think it's a good thing. I will speak briefly. The party, the new party chairman, obviously being a Nashua, Jennifer Horn is, I think, doing a good job so far and being very active, meeting with us. We have a conference call every week with her and the Senate President, and just to go over things. And so I think all that thing is starting to
gel. She set up a good operation for going for Ward 4 in Nashua in the election. Although that's a hard, that's probably the inner core of Nashua, and it's hard to get people out to vote, especially if it's cold out. It's cold out.
So those things are going well, and we go over legislation every week. And as I say, the budget, obviously, that's the big banana on the table right now, I think. And but there are a number of issues. I'm sorry, I'm coming right to mind. I can't think of any. I'm trying here as I'm talking.
Well, there'll be something that I'm going to have you back again.
Yeah, I hope so.
We'll be talking, especially when it gets a little bit down to you getting the Senate bills over and what's happening there. And then, of course, in June is going to be a budget crisis. That's going to really. That's when you have the hard numbers, or at least a little bit more of the numbers coming in.
And I like to do these shows, and I'll throw out a suggestion, and maybe I shouldn't do it on the air in case someone thinks it's a good idea, but I know I do one. In fact, tomorrow afternoon I'm doing one up in North Conway. You remember Representative Dickinson? Was he in the, He does a show in Conway.
Good.
And I talked him into coming to Concord with the show last year. And he did, and I happened to I had Bill Gardner come in to talk about voter ID. And then, because the search and rescue issue was a big deal, the money last year, that's another bill I can talk about. And I happened to have the Fish and Game people who were over there to testify, so I got them to come in and talk about it, because it just happened to be an article in the local paper that day. So that was good. So my only suggestion is, if you want to do this again, we can arrange to get, I don't know, Bill Gardner or people like that, someone, Commissioner of Department of Transportation, I
think that's going to be a big one, transportation's money. Where are we going to get this money? I mean, you know what kind of 10-year plan we had, a 10-year plan on what to do with 5 years of money to do it with.
Yes, right. So if you think that's a good idea, let me know, and we can arrange a department head from whatever agency. It might be fun for people.
A good one.
And he'd be very willing to do that, I'm sure. I can do that.
Well, maybe we ought to get David Campbell in.
We can do that too, that's
and
right.
See what happens if you'll meet with everybody like that.
Oh, yeah. But that search and rescue fund funding is a big issue that's coming up. And the governor, of course, she's put $200,000 in her budget for that. First time ever anyone's ever done that. hopefully it's going to stay, and that'll help the problem, but we still need a permanent long-term fix. And so we have a committee that's working on it.
Do you have a
now.
criteria? I mean, part of that is charging the people for
Right, that's going to be one of
service.
the things. We've got a number of ideas out there. And we finally reached the sportsmen of the state are unfairly paying to rescue people who
Yeah.
don't contribute anything to the fund. And so the people have finally had enough. And it's now reached, if nothing else, it's taken us a while, but we have gotten the awareness so people realize we have to do something now. It's not fair, it has to change. So that's a good thing, I
What
think.
percentage of the people that go hiking have accidents?
I don't know the percentage of that. I do know this, I think it's 47% of the rescues occur in the White Mountain National Forest, and they contribute nothing. So that's just kind of a sore subject with us too, and that's a real big issue. There are a few people that do it irresponsibly, and we still have the bill in to allow us to charge for those rescues now, if they're.
Yeah, you wonder how people have the brains to go out in the afternoon with not a.
Well, yeah, and they do. It is amazing. 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something, even in the wintertime, and sneakers on, and they're hiding out Mount Washington. And don't laugh. That happens. Believe me. It's crazy. And those people should be charged. There's no question. And what we're proposing, one of the things is a hiker card. You pay for $18.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah, and then we have a proposal, in which I don't know what's going to happen, that there is a 3-tiered charging system for if you're rescued, you got to pay something. And I really don't think most people would have too much of a problem with that. The old, like Fish and Game has been saying, we take them off the mountain, they load them into an ambulance, the people have to pay the ambulance takes them to the hospital, and they have to pay the hospital, but they don't pay us. So I think we'll get somewhere and fix it, and it's for the sportsmen. That's a big issue.
Well,
Because
I
what's
agree with
happening
you.
is it's running a deficit. The department can't run a deficit, so they have to take the money out of their
Somebody
regular
else,
program.
yeah.
So it comes out of law enforcement or trucks or something to fund these people that are up hiking around the mountains. And
They don't take anything out of transportation, do they?
no, they don't. Actually, we should take a look at that, I guess. But yeah, that's.
So many people have their hands in the pockets
Oh,
of
yeah.
that department.
I just talked to the Commissioner of Transportation, as a matter of fact, and he said safety is proposing, I believe, this is very close, so if this isn't 100% accurate, I'm sorry. I think that safety is proposing a 26% increase from the Turnpike Fund that they're proposing this year to pay for increased stuff. 26% out of the Turnpike Fund.
And their reason?
Well,
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
We need it,
right,
that's
yeah,
all, huh?
Yeah. Whether they'll get it or not, I don't know, but so.
Well, Gene, it's been a pleasure
Yeah.
talking to you again, and we do have to do this more often, I think. And
Yeah.
I like the idea of bringing in the Department of Transportation. I think that's one big place that we have to look at the infrastructure
Sure.
in the state. And so we'll be talking.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.